Okay, we're gonna get started. So I'm Jacob, for those of you that don't know. And thanks for tuning in to this webinar about everything you need to know about selling direct to trade. We're going to cover a lot of topics, mainly what exactly is direct to trade and how is it different from the traditional three-tier system that everybody's used to, and how can you utilize it in your strategies when you're bringing your products to market. So first thing I want to do is just kind of give you guys a little backstory about myself and how this whole concept in this business even came to be. And for those of you that don't know, I grew up in Sonoma and am multi-generational in the area, so know a lot about the wine business and have a lot of family members and relatives that have been involved. And it's been a topic of dinner conversations for a lot of years, and I just was curious about the industry myself and got into it by making wine in Sonoma County in Petaluma in the Gap, actually at a small vineyard called Castagna Vineyards with Hoot Smith. And I had dabbled a little bit before that, but it wasn't a full-time job. It was more of just kind of a passion play. Really started getting interested in making wine and learning about the industry. And Hoot taught me a lot, and Leslie Cisneros taught me a lot about the winemaking side and a little bit about the sales side. So when I wasn't making wine, I was out there trying to sell wine for Hoot, and I realized that it was very difficult first of all, it's difficult to sell wine, period. So anybody that gets into this industry, I totally commend you, because it's a tough business, and there's a lot of competition, and it's hard to differentiate yourself, and it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. So I started realizing that it was very difficult to sell a product that was made in California in another state like Colorado. And it was even more difficult to sell a product to a distributor and try to get them to take you on their book and actually, market and sell your product, and help it kind of stand out amongst the other, 300 or 400 products that they may have, and that there was actually a lot of expenses that came with having a distributor. So there's the aha moment, it's like, great, we have a winery, we're making wine in Sonoma or Napa or wherever you're making wine, and then you sell your product to a distributor, and you're like, yes, high five, success, we got this distributor, we're doing good, we're on our growth path. And they may take a half a pallet or whatever it is, and maybe even a container, but depending on how they do, majority of the time, it's been my experience that the efforts on the distributor have been a little bit short-lived at times, and generally they want the wineries to come out and do kind of a dog and pony show and meet the people in the market and help sell the products and engage buyers to tell the story, because it's buyers love meeting with makers. And it's there's a huge disconnect when the two can't directly get together, and they have to have this middleman in order to conduct business. It's very it's kind of difficult. So the aha moment for me was, Castagna is very small, and other people that I work for have been generally very, very small, because that's what I'm passionate about: small family-owned farming wineries. And a lot of distributors don't want to take products on that don't have enough bandwidth to basically service all their large accounts, their key accounts. So they kind of get left behind. But the moment for me was I had done a deal with a grocery chain, and the grocery chain had actually used their own clearing distribution network. So they bought Winery Direct, and then they used the distribution network as a kind of a clearing mechanism to get the product direct to store. So they made the decision at the corporate level and then kind of reverse engineered the supply chain. So it wasn't the typical, they weren't buying from what was on the distributor books in their markets. They were buying where they wanted to, and then use the distributors to kind of fulfill the compliance obligations. And that was kind of it for me. I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because if I could do all the sales and marketing wherever, and the distributors don't have to worry about doing the sales and marketing for me, all they have to do is take title of the product to get it delivered, and then pay the in-state gallon tax and be the distributor of record for the registration, then it makes life a lot easier, and maybe I can even negotiate a cheaper rate. So they're not taking the product at a really low FOB and then marking it up 35, 40% or whatever it is. And then and then and taking control of it from that standpoint. Maybe they'll take 10 points to just process the paperwork and do the invoicing. So that was actually a challenge. It was difficult, but there were a few people that were interested, but they weren't interested in doing it for like one small winery. So I started talking to other friends. Next thing you know, I had this little book of business, and we were selling it to different states, and we started to get some traction. And the distributors were happy because they didn't have to do a lot of work, and it was kind of a new revenue stream for them. And then it kind of started to advance. It was like, wow, well, a lot of people should be able to use this. We should be able to open this up for anybody that wants to have access to the US market. We should be able to create an ecosystem or a web-based ecosystem that has all of our distribution connections attached to it. And people should be able to sell direct to trade at any given time and find their own accounts and manage their own accounts. Because another problem is that, let's say you've had a distributor in the past and you're like, wow, I used to do really good in North Carolina, but then I lost my distributor. They got bought up by somebody and I got kicked off the book. And I wish I knew who all those accounts were that the distributor used to service. Well, now you don't have to. You can go back in North Carolina because you know that that's a really great place for your product. Open up some new accounts, maybe find some of those old key accounts that were successful for your distributor, and you can service them yourself by developing the relationships direct and passing the products through our compliance system, which is basically a web portal that just kind of connects you to the in-state distributor. And it's a tool to organize things. It's a tool to keep things organized so that the distributors aren't getting bombarded by 100 different wineries to pass, to process, a PO for a few cases at a time. It gives them kind of one point of contact within Merchant 23, and Merchant 23 gets one point of contact within the distributor's office, and we can kind of keep everything streamlined and organized and with minimal efforts. So that's why it is the way it is, and that's kind of how all things, how things came to be, and that's kind of what the evolution of Merchant 23 was and is, and what we're hoping it to be. The one thing that's really, really cool out there is that retailers, especially in off-premise, are looking for what's called Winery Direct. Total Wine & More has built this massive organization by creating this Winery Direct business model. And this business model basically allows them to establish the relationships, clear the products into their stores through their supply chain and through their distribution partners, and then they have the product on as an exclusive or whatever it may be for their stores. And they've taken a lot of market share. They've done it very quickly, and a lot of retailers are very threatened by it because they're moving in to their locations, and it's and they're just a huge threat. They're a behemoth. But the cool thing is that with a company like Merchant 23, now every retailer has the ability to develop winery direct relationships and kind of use that same sort of mechanism. So if 10 wineries that are on the Merchant 23 platform get with a retailer in New Jersey, and you guys really like them, then you guys can, establish relationships with them, and they say, hey, we'd like to take 100 cases a year, and we'd like to be exclusive in the state of New Jersey. I mean, that's a great opportunity for you, and it's a great opportunity for the retailer. It offers them an extreme competitive advantage. And now if you have, 50 people doing 100 or 200 cases a year in each store, you can quickly, or 100 to 200 cases in each state on the off premise. Then you can look to, how to strategize your off premise within those states as well. Then you can really get to 20,000 cases really, really quickly. It doesn't, 10 to 20,000 cases really, really quickly. We've actually proven this concept. It's not hard to do. It may seem like a big task, but you can do it with minimal manpower and just by understanding who key accounts are and establishing and managing relationships strategically. So that's why we exist, and this is how we're starting to think. And we're not trying to be a company that's disrupting the distribution model. We're trying to use the distribution model because, of course, it's a legal system. We're trying to just use it differently. Retailers want products that aren't on all the books because it offers them some differentiation. Distributors are having a hard time selling all the products, but they would love to have ancillary revenue streams for little work. And wineries are looking for new avenues to get products to market because, for one, it's a source of marketing if you're on shelves, and for two, it's a revenue stream. So, and everybody loves that. So it's a win-win for everybody involved in the Merchant 23 system. And that's what we always wanted it to be. We never wanted to be like, hey, we're going to be a distribution platform and we're going to, become a distributor in every state and we're going to change the way people are doing business. And the old way of distribution is going to die and we're going to take market share from the distributors. It's never been our purpose. So how do you set yourself up for success? How do you get yourself ready to position your products for these retailers? And how do you, utilize Merchant 23 and utilize your products to find the people that are going to be the right fit for you? So I've always, there's one thing that I think that a lot of wineries have missed. It's a huge opportunity. And if you're not taking advantage of this, it's a shame, because in the future, it's going to cost a lot more money to utilize these tools as more people are coming to this space. And right now, it's a great opportunity to just take advantage of very cheap and effective branding and marketing. And that's the digital landscape. Social media, keep getting engaged, having a great website that doesn't tell the story necessarily about your winery or about how cool you are or how cool your vineyard is or your sources or whatever, but it tells a little bit of the story about how your customers are going to feel when they interact with your products. If you think about like Corona and the Corona Gets Its Lime campaign, it's one of my favorite ones. Or if you look at any commercial on television, or if you go to any website from any of the major liquor companies, you're going to see something that's very different from most of the wineries that are out there and how they position their brands. It's always about the consumer. It's always about how the consumer feels when consuming the product, and it's less about if you're doing your job right and the homepage is talking about how the consumer on your website is talking about how the consumer feels when consuming the product, then they're going to want to investigate more about who you are, because they've already have an identity, or they're an identity that aligns with you, and it's going to prompt them to want to dig a little deeper and to investigate more about who you are as a company, your brand, where you're getting your fruit from, and more of your overall kind of just identity as a winery. So tell the story from the point of view of your consumer. Show them having fun on social media. Show people having fun when they come to your winery. The experiences on social media. Share those moments. Get people to engage. Ask people to engage. It's super powerful, and it develops. It doesn't cost very much money, and it develops great brand recognition very quickly. And for very cheaply, for like $5 a day, you can do very targeted Facebook campaigns in areas that that your product could be successful. If you've got a big Cabernet and it's a classic stately product with a very classic label, then you should be looking for consumers that fit that demographic. So maybe it's going to be the baby boomers that have some disposable income, and maybe they're in Texas, or maybe they're in Boston, or maybe they're in parts of New Jersey or Connecticut, and they want to have a quality piece that's very stately on the table. It's a talking point. And if you have kind of a more like here's a product right here, the Wine Gorilla labels. I love these labels. This is kind of more whimsical. It's a little more fun. It's basically it's geared towards, it's made by a millennial, and it's kind of geared towards the millennial audience. It's the whole thing, even down to the font, is very much towards kind of a younger demographic. So he's probably going to want to do more campaigns that are geared towards the demographic that makes sense for him. It's an entry level price point, a lot of art, and just, so he would probably be looking for areas where there's millennials that have disposable income, like Arlington, Virginia is like a huge one. Different parts of the Midwest that don't have access to a lot of boutique products. And what that does is it gets people to engage with your product, gets them to be aware of your product. So when you move into the stores in those areas and you actually get retailers to get behind you in those areas, you're going to be able to, reach out to your target audience and say, hey, I'm now at this liquor store, or we now partnered with this restaurant, check our wines out on this menu. And it kind of helps the initiative. And retailers love that. So they love to see that you're actually taking advantage of modern day tools. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that retailers are doing these days is when they get a product and they taste it, they're going to Google it. They're going to see how you look on social media. They're going to see how you look on Vivino or Delectable or Wine Searcher. and they're going to be looking at stats and kind of see a little bit how see how you resonate with their target market, because it's valuable shelf space that they're filling up with your products, and they want to make sure that product is turning over and they're getting the most bang for the buck on the best return for having that shelf space allocated to you. So get behind them, share your message across these channels. And if you guys need any suggestions on any of that sort of thing, let us know. We can help you. We can point you in the right direction, and kind of give you some feedback on what we think is successful and what we've seen be successful. So that's kind of it about getting yourself started and getting ready to get out into the marketplace. Definitely take advantage of social media, take advantage of inexpensive ways to get your message out there, engage with your audience, and share that content with the retailers that you're talking to. Tell them that you're actively engaged. It's not all about the product. It's about building a brand, right? We want to build brands. So then the other thing too is account management versus sales. I think that's another thing that's really important. When you get a retailer to take your product, it's super important to follow up, to stay in contact, to develop relationships with them, and to make sure that they know about all of your offers. Make sure they're on your email chains. Make sure they know about all your new releases. Even if they're not going to have access to them, they're going to be curious. They're going to want to stay engaged. They're going to want to know about you. So keep them informed and call them, email them often. Make sure that the products are doing good, and see if you can add any value, add any help. If there's a way for you if they're a local retailer, somebody that's around, go in and do an in-store tasting. Set up a booth and go in there and just meet the target audience. In-store tastings, they might not seem like a huge return on investment when you're doing it. Like, you might only sell a few bottles, but there's residual effects to that. There's people that will come back, and they will be supporters of your brand for the longer term. And it's very important to find out what your accounts need from you in order to be successful, and stay involved with them. And I think a lot of people that we've seen, and I'm actually at fault, for doing this myself, is that you get a sale done and you just don't follow up. You get a sale done and then you're on to the next one. It's really important to track those sales, find out who your buyers are, and stay engaged. So what we use here is a CRM system, or a customer relationship management system. So if any of you guys Google CRM, you're going to see a ton of options. We use HubSpot. It's free for the CRM side of it, and basically it helps you manage deal stages. They also have a lot of free content that helps you get set up, and it gives you a lot of tips for account management and how to be successful in a modern sales environment. I highly recommend you guys, every winery, have some sort of a CRM that's allocated to your B2B efforts, your wholesale efforts. It'll help you manage things. It'll help you stay engaged. It'll let you know that, hey, you haven't talked to this retailer in a month. It's important to, maybe you should send him an email, or send him a postcard, or, shout out on his Twitter or something like that. I don't know. Just stay engaged with them. So that is that. One of the things too is, like, understanding goals is super important. So if you only have 500 cases a year, that you're going to allocate to the trade, should be super easy for you to find a few retailers. They're going to be able to take up that quantity of product over the course of the year, in between vintages. And it's so figure out exactly what your goals are and work towards them. I know it sounds like kind of elementary, and you're like, damn, Jacob, that's just everybody knows that. But I think even myself, and I know my team, we set goals. We set what we call SMART goals, and once in a while we lose sight of them. So we have to go back to them, and we have to kind of align ourselves with what our goals are, so that we can stay on track. And I think it's important to assess what they are. If you only have 1,000 cases or 500 cases allocated for wholesale, make sure that you know who those people are. And actually, I can that are going to take them, and I can tell you right now that for us, when we're doing sales, we know exactly where products go or should go once we get them. So for instance, we did a little, and I'll send this out to you. We did a little inter-office test with a Russian River Chardonnay, and one of the sales reps that was here, he did, I think, 13 phone calls. He emailed 30 retailers, And without even sending samples out, he sold 2.5 pallets. Took him 3 hours of total effort to do it. And it was, the product was not super discounted. The label wasn't super fancy. He just knew exactly who to call and who to target in what areas for the specific product. And he knew where it would move based on some real simple data that we had available to us. So understanding your goals and understanding where people, who the accounts are that can help you meet those goals is very, very important. So let me see here. I got a bunch of notes down here. That's what I'm looking at, trying to stay in track with it. So, all right, guys. So I touched on this a little bit before, but whether you're using Merchant 23 and you're using a system like ours where you're managing your sales or you're using distributors, it's super important to know exactly where your products fit within a market. So a lot of people will be looking for distributors and they'll just go with any distributor that takes their product because they're excited for the possibility for the sales. And I think that a lot of times those sales don't meet the expectation of the winery, and that it's super important to understand where there's going to be product market fit. I touched on it by saying, you should understand a little bit about your labels and the people that, that would be interested in consuming a product that's like yours based on label, but also price point and also varietal. So it may be cool to be a differentiating product on a book, but let's say that there's an area that consumes primarily European wines, and you're a California producer, and you might be one of 2 California producers on the book, and that might be cool. It's an interesting test to see how that would do. But if the POS data, the point of sale data from Nielsen or any of these other companies shows that traditionally California products don't do well in this market, especially your price point, varietal, or and region, then you probably shouldn't want to be wasting too much time with those distributors, right? We should be looking for places that really fit, and I think that's important. So really finding the areas based on data that's available to everybody and getting your product to those places is extremely important. So take some time to do some due diligence on your part. Again, that's something we can help you with. If you guys are looking for strategies, if you're looking for someone to kind of figure out, hey, Jacob, find me 5 states that I think, I could do really good, and even go a step further. What cities within those states are going to be the best fit for my product? Let us know. We can talk to you about how to find that data, or even, conduct some strategies for you and surveys to help you be best successful while using Merchant 23. And the other thing too is, another thing that I think is really important is the account size. Finding the accounts that really make sense for you. So at Merchant 23, we really want to find accounts. If it's an on-premise account, we really want them to have $5 million or more of annual revenue. And if it's an off-premise account, we generally look for $10 million or more in annual revenue. And that's because we want to make sure that they have the ability to do a lot of reorders in the event that the product does good, or if they want to reorder. We want to kind of be able to, some retailers will start off small, and if the product does well, they will reorder really quickly and very aggressively. And we want to create the chance for that opportunity as much as possible. Also, it takes as much time and effort to service those accounts as it does the mom and pops or the C stores or the small liquor stores that are very boutique driven. It's not saying that we if those opportunities come about, that you shouldn't service them. It's just saying that if you're going to canvas an area, let's say that Connecticut, let's say San Francisco Bay Area is a place of interest, and that your product would be a great fit there, then you can use a tool like HubSpot to actually find out what the annual revenue of an account is. So when you're going through and you're looking for on or off premise accounts, you can just take the URL, plug it into the system, and it'll pull up all the history on the store, and it'll tell you what their annual revenue is. And the ones that would be the first calls that I'm going to make are going to be the ones that have the highest revenue. I want to put my efforts there because I know that it's going to have the highest return on investment for the long run. So maybe they'll only order a few cases right off the bat, but maybe the next reorder is a half pallet or a pallet because they realize that their customers are resonating with your product. So if you do your homework and you do your, follow the data, then it's, then those efforts are going to pay off in spades in the future when you really are managing those accounts. You're going to be able to expand much quicker and allocate more product to fewer accounts, and it's gonna pay off much greater in my experience. And you guys, please share your experiences too. And if you think I'm off on anything, let me know. I want to hear. I am super humble, and I always want to learn, and I always want to hear, your experiences and hear, what's been going on from some of your hardships and your pain points that you've been dealing with. So I'm just kind of right now giving you an overview of what we found to be successful for brands that we've helped sell into different markets throughout the US. So the other thing is, in a concept that's really going to help you to manage here at Merchant 23, one thing we do is we create what's called buyer personas. And those personas are like fictitious individuals. Like it might be Liquor Store Larry. Liquor Store Larry is a wine buyer for an account that has $10 million in annual revenue. He's 55 years or older, probably isn't into, on a lot of social media. He is more than likely on Facebook, if any, and he's doing it for familiar reasons, keeping in touch with family, grandkids, kids, whatever it is. But he does consume a lot of information that's regarding the trade. So he's probably subscribing to Shanken Daily News, or he's probably subscribing to any of the other publications that are giving, Market Watch, that are giving information about, trends within the marketplace, and especially in his local area. So maybe you can meet him there. So every time we create a piece of content, we're always considering who we're building that content for, and trying to make sure that we're helping solve problems for that buyer persona. And that's exactly what you want to do. If you have your wine is here's another Wine Gorilla product. I know I brought a lot, but you've got a new wine in the can, and you went on a liquor store in Boston, and you saw that they didn't have any wine on cans, and they had $10 million in annual revenue. You might want to send out some tweets or tag the wine buyer, find them on LinkedIn, engage them from an account-based standpoint, and kind of say, hey, we've got these great wine in can, here's some information, here's some content, here's some people enjoying the product. Would you be interested in possibly tasting these and bringing them on? We would offer you an in-state exclusive if you could do X amount of volume, yada, yada, yada. Something like that would be a strategy that we would employ once we know who our buyer persona is. So, okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about us and how to use our system. So now we kind of got an overview of like how you should be thinking about your brand, how you should be thinking about a strategy, who you should be targeting based on, some very simple information about your product. This stuff is not hard. It's not rocket science. Just take some time to organize all that information and put it down so that you can really create a very simple, streamlined, go-to-market strategy that's going to help you have success quickly. So now what we're going to do, talk about Merchant 23. Oops. I left you guys. That's not what I wanted to do. This is what I want to do. All right, we're going to share this screen. All right, Lynn's is doing the funky screen share thing where it's like, is it looking good? Nope. Hold on, guys. Technical difficulty.
Oh, yep. There you go. Nope.
Hold on. How about there? Try that.
Nope.
Yep. Nope.
Nope.
Okay. 1 second.
Stop. Screen. Hey, gang.
Hey, guys.
Screen share.
Screen share.
App window.
Okay.
Click on it.
This one?
Yeah. Yep.
Boom.
And then share or show.
Nope.
Yes. Sorry.
No.
No.
Your entire screen. Application window.
Try again.
There's some funky stuff happening here. Can't seem to quite figure it out.
Try that one more time. not app window, not the one we keep doing. Your entire screen,
Okay.
and then click, and then share, and let's see. Let me
Nope.
see what it looks. Hang on one second. Let's see. Oh, you clicked out.
Yeah, I clicked out.
Yeah.
Well, guys, sorry for this technical difficulty here as I go back and forth. It's doing some strange sort of, and we tested this beforehand and it was not doing this. So this is kind of a new, Chrome wants you to share your content. Boom. Application window. Nope. Anyway, so I will keep it going. And so what I wanted to do was just kind of go through a little bit about how to use the software and what it does and how to upload products and how we can and kind of go over, just that aspect of the whole thing. Linz, any success?
Not yet.
Not yet. So bear with me. So anybody have any questions so far? Anybody have anything, burning desires?
Okay, why don't you minimize your screen and open it up in Safari?
We're not gonna be able to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Might have been in Safari when we were testing and Chrome's not doing, the Chrome browser is not.
Doing something funny.
It's doing something funny. So
No screen share.
we got no screen share today. But what I would like to say is on the Merchant 23 website, if you guys go to it right now and you click on sell, I can verbally walk you through this. If you click on sell and you register you register for an account, and you're probably going to ask, okay, what license number? If you're a bonded winery, put your bonded winery number in there. If you're a 1720, put your wholesale license in there. If you are a importer, it's your federal ID number, your federal import license number. So whatever's applicable to your situation. And if you don't have anything on hand, just put a dummy number in there for now, just so you get an idea of what this is, of what the system does and how you can use it. You should, once you create your account, you should be able to, you'll be able to see a dashboard. You'll open up to a dashboard, and on the left-hand side, you're going to see, it'll say dashboard, and then it'll say manage products. And then when you manage, if you click on manage products, all right, guys. So real quick, I had a question from somebody. Ed, how are you? Good. I'm glad you're on today, bud. Beer. So all liquors. Let me just say this first. Everything has wine, beer, and spirits are wildly different, and every state is wildly different. So the yes, Merchant 23 has distributors for all wine, beer, and spirits, but it's on a state by state, distributor by distributor base. You guys won't see a lot of the busy work that happens for the clearing and compliance. If a product's registered in a state, then we can sell into the state as long as we're following the rules based on based on the distributor for the state, to keep everybody compliant. But Ed, if you have any specific questions about beer or selling beer, let me know. But in Merchant 23, there is a tab. You can upload your beer. If you have a state that you'd like to get some beer registered in, we can provide you all the guidelines and the information for getting it registered in that state. We can also help you with some sales strategies for success within the state. But rest assured that your beer will be able to be sold, and you'll have no problem with the taxes and all of the compliance that you need to be supported in any state that you need to be supported in, as long as it's physically allowed and there's no crazy liquor control board laws that are preventing you from having success. So that's that. If there's anything specific about the beer that you want to know, let me know. But back to it, the dashboard is the dashboard for Merchant 23 has 4 basic functions. What it does is you can manage your products, meaning you can upload your products into our system, and once that's happened, we'll review them. They'll go live on our marketplace. Retailers will have the ability to see them and will be able to contact you directly through your product page. The other thing is that you'll be able to manage your inventories. All of your compliance information will live back there, and you'll be able to just take things down, renew vintages. If you have other products that you want to sell, you can constantly add them in there. The second thing is below managing your products is you can add buyers. So let's say that you're at dinner in Florida and the sommelier comes up and you've got a bottle of your wine sitting on the table, and the somm says, wow, this is really great. You offer him a glass. He tastes it, says, wow, I'd really love to get some of this product. Generally, if you don't have a distributor in the state, you would have to say no. But now you don't. You can take the sommelier's information, you can add it into the Merchant 23 system, and that buyer's information will live in your portal. Once you've done that, the next item below manage products, add the buyer, will be create a purchase order. You can create a purchase order. When you click that button, you'll add the buyer's information in because it'll live in your system. It'll be a drop down. You click which buyer you want to add to the PO. You click which product you want to add to the PO. And then you make sure that the numbers based on quantity are correct. So basically your subtotal is correct. And then you click submit. And what'll happen from there is it'll let our distributor know, it lets Lindsay know, it lets me know, it lets everybody involved know that a product is coming into the state and that we have to do all the compliance to make sure that it gets in legit. And that's pretty much it. So you can feel free to sell wherever you want. The one thing I will say is that if your product's not registered, make sure that the retailers or the beverage directors understand that there could be a delay while the products get registered before they will actually reach them. So the shipping and everything is easy, but we can't ship most of the time until the product's actually been registered. So there could be some delay. But if not, just go ahead and add the sale into the system, and the system will process it, and the product will show up directly to the retailer, either through by our in-state distributor or direct with an invoice from our in-state distributor. So below create the purchase order, you will have another function that says order history. It'll show your order management, show status of deals that are going out, things of that nature. And then the last one you'll see is messages. So, and that will be where all your messages from retailers live. So if somebody has interest in your product and they come to it, if a buyer comes into the Merchant 23 marketplace and sees a product and it's yours, and they send a chat and say, hey, I'd really like to find out some more information about your product. Are you registered here? How many cases do you have, or whatever it is, or can you send me a sample? You'll be able to receive those live chats, and you'll be able to chat right back with them through our system. You'll get an email notification that lets you know that a chat is is waiting for you in the system, and that's pretty much it on that. So the last thing I want to talk about is logistics options, or kind of one of the last things is that Merchant 23 offers logistics support. So we have temperature controlled refrigerated trucks that are moving at all times across the nation. We use multiple companies. We outsource it. We don't own them, but we outsource it to reliable companies that we've had great track record and success with. It's $8 a case if you're going to move a case of wine, if it's a half pallet or more, through a temperature controlled truck on the freight side. If you have under 20 or 27 cases or below, and you're in the small package world, if you're in California and you want to send a case all the way to Florida, it's $30. Or anywhere in the nation, it's $30 a case. So that's kind of what that looks like. The other thing is that if you don't want us to handle the logistics, you can do it yourself. So in the purchase order system, it will say, self-fulfill or predetermined based on quantity Merchant 23 shipping. those are your two options. So you can either back out our costs and then do it yourself, or you can have our costs associated and we'll go ahead and send you a label via email. You package the wine up and it goes, or we'll schedule the shipping through a truck and you'll get information about when the truck's going to pick it up. And it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth and easy. Now you guys will always be paid through a distributor. So the chain of command is this: retailer comes, they show interest in the product, we engage with them, we conversate, we come to a deal. The distributor gets the product gets registered. The distributor takes title of your product for delivery, invoices the retailer, and then pays you. Merchant 23 sends an invoice to you for our commissions. So it's basically like we're just a huge glorified broker with some software capabilities and access, and we're sharing our access to the 50 states with you. So that's kind of what it is, what our business model is, what it boils down to is exactly that. So pretty simple. It's just like getting paid from any distributor that you would have in the state, in any state. So the last cool thing, maybe not the last, one of the last cool things, I keep saying last cool thing or last thing, but no, this is not the last thing. This is one of the last things. One of the last things that I think that we want to share with you is that we do have sales reps now. We are going to, and they're not necessarily sales reps, but what they'll be doing is they're brand ambassadors. And what they'll be doing is they'll be working on your brands in key states that you feel you need support with. And they'll be conducting in-store tastings. They'll be checking on depletion in stores. They'll be pitching new products. And their goal is to aid the distributor's efforts or your efforts through your distributor so that you can cover as much territory and get as many sales as possible within a state that you're registered. So maybe you get a sale in a state that's only 3 or 5 cases, but we've got like 5 reps in the area. That'd be a great opportunity. You might as well fulfill the 5-case order and then get our brand ambassadors some PR material and get them out pitching and tasting people on your products so that you can get more retail accounts in that state. So we'll maximize the efforts and maximize the amount of revenue that you can generate from a state. So that's actually really cool. We're very excited about that. And we are going to be launching this nationwide. It's going to be a nationwide effort, starting in Connecticut, New Jersey, Boston, Florida, Central Florida. We got a new guy coming on, hopefully in Arizona in the Phoenix area. We've got Dallas, Texas. We're aggressively trying to canvass California, and that's kind of where we're starting. So very, very exciting stuff. The rest, let's see the rest. That's really it, you guys. I think that we've covered a lot, and it's all about, setting yourself up for success, how to differentiate yourself from other products, utilize the system to take advantage or take responsibility for your own sales efforts, coupled with our logistics, our software, and now our new brand ambassadors that are going to be on the ground promoting your products. We're very excited. So we are happy to work with you, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out. We will be sending out a calendar link and of this video. So if there's anything that you want to review, feel free to review it. If you'd like to have a one-on-one 30-minute conversation with me about your brand and about sales efforts and about what that looks like, we are going to be matching products to states or cities that we feel they have the best success. And that's really it. So if you want to talk about that moving forward, we'd be happy to have that conversation. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you all. Have a good week.